are live on the Doug Serravo Show. I'm your host, as always, Doug Serravo. Today it's just me because, we changed the plans. Brandon is in Phoenix, Andrew is busy with schoolwork, and I went bowling tonight, so that's why we're doing this live at 11 p.m. So it may not be your typical 2 hour, hour and a half show, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And I want to start with the Houston Texans. What are they even doing in Houston? This is an organization that has had tremendous talent. You could start with Andre Johnson, J.J. Watt, Brian Cushing, Jadeveon Clowney, DeAndre Hopkins. And then they finally get an elite quarterback in Deshaun Watson. And you would think that this is the start of Super Bowls in Houston. Doesn't work that way, right? The Texans, their ownership, their general manager, they seem to get rid of their top players. And now they release J.J. Watt, one of the best players in the NFL, and also one of the best players in the organization. And you go and trade him, you go and release him. Now, as a Giants fan, I want J.J. Watt on my defense. I truly want him on my defense. Think about who we have right now with Jabril Peppers, Blake Martinez. If we add J.J. Watt to our roster, that could be a Super Bowl defense. We saw it back in the day with Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck, Osi Umenora, Jason Pierre-Paul. We've seen those defenses win championships. And now we can win a championship, maybe not yet, but if we add a guy like J.J. Watt, this Giants defense could go somewhere. But back to my point about the Houston Texans. It's like they have no idea what they're doing. And it seems like you get a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, that this team is finally going to have their elite quarterback. They had the years of, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brian Hoyer. They didn't really have a consistent quarterback. They didn't. So it still kind of baffles me how. But actually, can you actually blame Deshaun Watson for wanting out of Houston? Can you blame the guy? Getting rid of top receivers, top defensive guys. This organization, I don't think they have a plan. Do they? I'm sitting here wondering, what are they doing in Houston? They're doing nothing. You look at their record over the last 10 years where in 2010 they were, I need glasses, they were 6-10, then they went 10-6, 12-4 in 2012. You think that's the start of something for this organization. Then they go 2-14, then they go 9-7 for 3 straight years, make the playoffs. I believe they maybe won one playoff game. I'm not really sure. Then the following year they go 4-12. Then they get Deshaun Watson. They go 11-5. They go 10-6. Last year they were one game away from the conference championship game. That would have been an interesting game. Houston versus Tennessee. They fail with that. They lost that game. They don't go to the conference championship. And the following year they fall apart. They're 4-12. Deshaun Watson has a career year. He wants out. So if you're a Houston Texans fan, you have to ask yourself and the ownership, what the heck is going on in Houston? So what is their plan for next year? Now that they moved on from J.J. Watt, are they actually going to go out and trade Deshaun Watson? Is that their plan? Are they going to actually do that? Because if I'm a Houston Texans fan, I would be furious. You traded away our best receiver, to a team that almost made the playoffs. You're giving our quarterback no help that he wants out of Houston. And now you trade the most loyal guy in our franchise, in our organization. If I'm a Giant fan, I'm happy he's now released, because now we have an opportunity to go out and sign someone like J.J. Watt. Now, I know he's old. I know he's in his almost late 30s, but he's still a legit elite player. And if I'm the New York Giants, I go out and I sign J.J. Watt. That is what I will do, because the Houston Texans have no idea what they're doing right now. This is a team that could have had a great future. This is a team that could have had something moving forward. But they don't. They really don't. You think of their top 12 players where they had Andre Johnson, J.J. Watt, Dwayne Brown, Matt Schaub, DeAndre Hopkins, Jonathan Joseph, Arian Foster, Brian Cushing, Whitney Mercilus, Deshaun Watson now, Chris Myers, and Eric Winston. Those are top players, and to not have those top players, not win a playoff game, disappointing. To have your best quarterback want to be traded, just his fourth year in the league? Come on, man. The Houston Texans, you gotta want your players to stay. You gotta be a legit organization. That's why teams like the Patriots win. That's why teams like the Colts won. You know, they built around Peyton Manning. They built around Tom Brady. Winning teams build a winning culture. Look at the Buccaneers for an example. They built around Tom Brady. Yeah, they had their inconsistent years with Jameis Winston. Tom Brady truly made a difference for that organization, for that team, for that franchise, by bringing in Leonard Fournette, by bringing in Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown. Sure, the Buccaneers had their players. They had the Mike Evans. They had the O.J. Howards. They had the Jason Pierre-Pauls. Sure, you could say Tom Brady was the reason why they even made the playoffs, which is the truth. Because with Jameis Winston, they went, 7-9, 6-10, 8-8. That same roster without Tom Brady wouldn't have made the playoffs. Wouldn't have even sniffed the division away from the New Orleans Saints. So when you look at, you got to build the right way. And if the Texans want to release J.J. Watt, they have to trade Deshaun Watson and start from scratch. Because having Deshaun Watson and wasting away his prime years, what's the point? What's the point of keeping him there? There's really no point. Again, thank you for joining the Doug Survival Show. We have plenty more to get to. We're discussing the Houston Texans. We're going to discuss the Chicago Cubs, Jake Arrieta. And we're going to discuss how LeBron continues to dominate the National Basketball Association. Again, I'm Doug Survival, Brandon Schwartz, and Andrew Brem are my other co-hosts. They just couldn't be here today. Again, thank you for always joining us. We'll be right back.
Where the Monroe Falcons are playing the St. Joseph of McCutcheon Falcons.
Past that game's history, we have a state's championship on our mind now.
The ranch, the buffalo.
It all works together very nicely.
Welcome to Falcons Insider. On today's episode, we're doing a lot of great work. You know, this is work that people said couldn't have been done before.
A lot of money doing something you love. re-elected team reporter.
Yeah, what a season that was for you.
Thank-
54 points in 18 games.
But definitely, I mean, when I said that we're going to win GMCs, I think that's another one that I remember. Yeah.
Go down in history. You just said it with so much confidence. We are back on the Doug Saravo Show. I'm your host, Doug Saravo. Again, if you're just joining us, we discussed how the Houston Texans have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They truly don't. And it's a shame because they could have been a great football team. They truly could have been a great football team. They could have been a great organization going to the playoffs year in and year out, but they failed. They failed. And it's a shame. It really is a shame that, it went to this point where you have your top quarterback where he wants to say, I don't feel like I belong here. I'm gonna I proved myself here. I had the best year of my career. Gave it my all, but you don't want to help me. You just don't want to help me. You don't want to help bring a Super Bowl to this city. And that's a shame when you have these top players and your organization doesn't do a thing. If I was an athlete, I want to make sure my team wins. I want to make sure that they do everything I can to build a championship, build a contender. And when you have teams that don't do that, there's nothing you can do about it. There's just nothing you could do about it because you look at teams that build the right way, they go through years of struggle and they get the draft picks and they build around it. They build around their key guys. Like the Chicago Cubs, where they brought in guys like Jake Arrieta, and they built around Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Wilson Contreras, Javier Baez, Kyle Schwarber. They built around those guys, and that's why the Cubs ended up winning a championship. You could say the same thing about my Tampa Bay Rays. We built a system in place, and that's why we are where we are, contending for the last few years. We don't play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You would think that having a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, having guys like J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, and Clowney, that you would have at least one Super Bowl by now. J.J. Watt could have been lifting a Lombardi trophy. The same could be done with Deshaun Watson, because I think he's going to lead whatever team he goes to next to a Super Bowl. But unfortunately, they don't do that. Some organizations don't know how to build, but the Chicago Cubs, they know how to build. And that's where we're going next. Jake Arrieta is returning to the Chicago Cubs. One of the best pitchers, I think, the last few years. He won a Cy Young, and he's back in Chicago. Things didn't really work out that well in Philadelphia, but I'm truly excited to see him back in Chicago. This is a guy that helped them win a World Series. He went 10-5 in 2014, his first full year with the Cubbies. Then in 2015, 22-6. Then in 2016, their World Championship year, 18-8. Then his last year with the Cubbies, 14-10. Then again, he went to the Phillies, 32-23 in the 3 years. But the Chicago Cubs is where he performed to his potential, 68-31. And I'm really liking this signing for the Cubs. Although I think this is the Cardinals' division to lose, I think when you add in Jake Arrieta back to this rotation, they're going to compete. Going into this year for the Cubs, I was worried that they wouldn't compete. You have talks of Chris Bryant getting traded, But I still think this is a good team. When you have Ian Happ, when you have Javi Baez, if you keep Chris Bryant, you have Anthony Rizzo, you have Wilson Contreras. So this team is still not a bad team. I see them fighting for a wild card spot. But I think adding back Jake Arrieta helps this rotation. Yeah, he's not the young 30-year-old. He's 36. But having him in this rotation helps. And if you're looking at their starting rotation right now, without Arrieta, you have Kyle Kendricks, you have Zach Davies, you have Alec Mills, you have Adbert Azaole, Trevor Williams, Tyson Miller, Braylon Marquez. Adding Jake Arrieta back to this rotation helps the Chicago Cubs roster. It truly does. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to say I'm crazy for thinking that the Cubs could compete and the Cubs could be a playoff team. I'm sure there's folks out there that's tweeting me that. I do believe that the Cubs are going to be a playoff team once and for all. And shout out to my boy Hector Deffer. He sees a lot of work that's never been done before. Hector Deffer, one of the best chefs in town. Go check him out. But back to this Chicago Cubs baseball team. Their roster isn't really that bad. You look at their bullpen, they have Craig Kimbrell. They have Rowan Wick, Brad Wick, Dan Winkler, Kyle Ryan, Dwayne Underwood, James Norwood, Jason Adam, Rex Brothers, Robert Stock. Yeah, their pitching it's not great. It's not one of those best rotations in baseball. But they still have the offense. Wilson Contreras at catcher. I think he could get Jake back to his elite status. Yeah, he's 36, but I truly believe having him back there will help. It will help Arrieta get back to his game because he wasn't there. He wasn't consistent in Philadelphia. Then you have Anthony Rizzo, you have Chris Bryant, you have David Bodie. See what they have from Nico Horner, Javi Baez. I do like the addition of Jock Peterson. I think he's going to help them a lot. They still have Jason Hayward. Yeah, they lost Kyle Schwarber, but still, I don't see this Cubs team going down the drain. I just don't. I still believe that they're going to compete when they have to. And the Cardinals adding Nolan Arenado, sure, it's going to be their division to lose, but I just don't think the Cubbies are going to fall right apart. I still think having those guys that they'll win at least 86, 87 games. And then maybe Jake Arrieta will give them an additional 15. So the Cubs, they're not really falling apart like many people think they will. You know, they've done a lot of great work in 2016, 2015, 2017. You know, they did work that a lot of people said couldn't have been done before for the Chicago Cubs. 100 plus years without a world championship, and they built a good team. You know, this ties into the Houston Texans. They build a great team, but they can't keep it in place. The Cubs were able to do that for the last, decade or so, from 13, 14, 15, and then they finally win it all in 2016. So again, you're listening to the Doug Saravo Show. I'm your host, Doug Saravo. Today's show is a little bit different without my co-host, so we're going to go talk about the NBA, latest on the NHL, right after this commercial break.
I'm going to work with Stratford Rec to see what can we do about it, because I can pitch in money to start with, because we need that. Look at that. It's sad. The puck is crying. We need to do something.
And when she gets elected, She will do a lot of great work for this town, things that haven't been done before. She's highly respected, highly intelligent, and I'm looking forward to hearing on Election Day that she is your newest representative, but most importantly, your voice.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We are back on the Doug Serravo Show. As always, I'm your host. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook Live, and all your podcast applications. So, LeBron James continues to dominate even in his 18th season. You know, a lot of people will say Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, but I personally believe that LeBron James is the greatest all-around basketball player of all time. I truly believe that. He's kind of like LeBron. He's kind of like Tom Brady in a way. Every team that Tom Brady goes to, they're good. We saw it with the Buccaneers this year. And no matter what team LeBron is on, they're good. For example, let's take a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Without LeBron, they're not a playoff team. This year they're 10-17. Prior years they're not. He took a Cavaliers team, and I'm a Cavs fan, with Larry Hughes, Eric Snow, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Daniel Gibson, Drew Gooden, to 66 wins. Without him, they're going nowhere. LeBron takes every team to the NBA Finals, to the NBA Championship. Which is why I think he's the greatest basketball player to ever play. Now, I may disagree with him when it comes to the world of politics. Sure, I think he may not... We disagree with that. I'm not going to get into that. But coming to his basketball side, his athletic side, LeBron James is the best to ever do it. And that's my own opinion. And to be in year 18, playing 28 games this year, having 25.5 points per game, passing all these records, almost averaging a triple-double this year, going 25, 8, and 8, shooting 50% for his career. There's no one better. There's really no better than LeBron James. He's constantly dominant year in, year out, and it doesn't even matter how old the guy is. He's in year 18 and he's 36 years old. That's like saying LeBron has to read. That's like saying Tom Brady has to call it quits. LeBron James and Tom Brady are at the same elite level, no matter what age they are, whether they're in their 40s or whether they're just in year 20, 21, 22, or even dominant like LeBron was in year 19. To be 19 years old, dominant in the NBA, the same way you are in year 18, age 36, it says a lot about LeBron. Which is why I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for other teams to compete against the Lakers this year. I think we're looking at our first back-to-back championship in a while. Yeah, we had the Golden State Warriors, but we really haven't had seen that in prior years. I just think he's too good. I think he's better than everyone else. I think he's better than Michael Jordan, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like to debate me on that. But what has Michael Jordan done that LeBron hasn't done? Sure, he hasn't lost 6 NBA titles, but come on, the same Bulls team without Michael Jordan still made the playoffs, I believe, and I'll pull that up. We look at the Bulls year by year record. Michael Jordan left. They were still a good, decent team. Yeah, they weren't the best, but they were still a good, decent team. So Jordan left. All right, let's take a look. Jordan retired. Let's see. All right, so he left in. When was his first retirement? All right, so it looks like they went from 55 games to 47 games, or something like that. LeBron leaves, they lose 60 plus games. So I don't understand how Michael is better than LeBron, because LeBron makes everyone else around him better. Michael Jordan still has Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. So I really don't see the difference there. Alright, so Michael Jordan, he didn't play 94-95. Okay. So looking at this Bulls team in 94-95, they still won 47 games without Michael Jordan. Without Michael Jordan. The 1994-95 Bulls. Alright? Yeah, it says it. Or just give me a minute. I'm pulling it up. When you have LeBron go to a team like, you look at his first year when he went to the Heat, they totally fell apart. And if you look at the year he's having this year, he's my vote for the MVP. There's no question in it. He's my vote for the MVP. Alright, so 1998. There was a year when Jordan left, and they didn't really play so bad. I just had to find it. Yeah, 94-95. They weren't that bad. They won 47 games. Or he didn't play the full season, and then he played for the Chicago White Sox. All right, 1993-94 was the year where he did not play. All right. So, the 1992-93 Chicago Bulls won 57 games, and they won the finals. The following year, when Michael Jordan did not play, they won 55 games, and they lost in the Eastern Conference semis. Now, if we look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's totally different without LeBron. And this is why I believe LeBron is better than Michael Jordan. There's no argument in that. They won 2 less games with Michael Jordan. Now, if we're looking at the Cavaliers year-by-year record, the first year when LeBron left, he left for the Miami Heat. They won 61 games, and then LeBron left for Miami. They won 19 games. 19. So that says it all right there. You go from 61 games with LeBron, 19 games without LeBron. Michael Jordan, 57 games on the Bulls. Michael Jordan not on the Bulls. They won 55 games. So that says it all right there. The second time LeBron left the Cavs, 50 games. The following year they win 19 games and then 19 again. And we're currently with 10 wins. So that says it all right there. Without LeBron James, the Lakers wouldn't have won a championship. Maybe they would with Anthony Davis. And without the Bulls, without Michael Jordan, the Bulls still would have won a championship. And that should end the discussion right there. For me, LeBron James is the best player in the National Basketball Association. Not just this year, but all time. And, that's where I stand. No one can really change my mind because I look at that stat. Without Michael Jordan, the Bulls only won 2 less games, 55 compared to 57. While without LeBron James, the Cavs still found a way to only win 19 games. They go from 61 to 19. It doesn't get worse than that. 19 games? Come on. LeBron James is better. We all know that. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the Doug Saravo Show. We've been discussing the Houston Texans. LeBron James continues to dominate the NBA, and we're going to discuss the National Hockey League right after this quick commercial break. Back on the Doug Saravo Show. I'm your host, Doug Saravo, and I want to start with Alex Galchenyuk of now the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was traded from the Senators to the Hurricanes, and now 3 days later he's a Maple Leaf. Imagine being Alex Galchenyuk. I believe this is like his 8th team in a matter of 2009 years, so that's gotta sting for him. But I'm loving the fact that he's going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf because they are going to have so much depth down that center position and the left wing position. They currently have John Tavares, Jason Spezza, Joe Thornton, and now you add in Galchenyuk. They are currently sitting one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. They are 11-3-2, and their goal differential is 58-44. So I believe that this Maple Leafs team could come out of the Canadian North Division. There's no one really a threat there besides Montreal. They're 9-4-2. The Oilers, they're 9-7, and then you have the Jets, who will take the 4th spot. So you have those 4 teams, and when you have the playoff position, the playoff picture. You have in the West, you have the Golden Knights, you have the Blues, the Coyotes, and the Avalanche. I do believe that the Maple Leafs can see, but I'm not sure how it's going to work with COVID. If they're going to do like a bubble, you have the Toronto, the Canadian teams match up against the West teams in the semifinal, conference final. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I'm really liking the way the Maple Leafs can match up against. I think if I were a Maple Leafs fan, I would want them to match up against a team like the Avalanche. I think they would have the edge. The Coyotes. I think the only test for the Maple Leafs will be Montreal, Vegas, and St. Louis. Other than that, I think they have a very good chance to go to the Stanley Cup Final this year, and they would have to take on a team from the Central or the East Division. And the East Division, there's not really anyone running away with it besides the Bruins. You got the Flyers who are 8-3-2. You have the Islanders who are 7-4-3, and then the Capitals who are 6-4-3 on a 4-game losing streak. They've been inconsistent. You got the Penguins 7-5, the Rangers 4-6-3, and then you got the Devils who are coming back tomorrow, I believe, who are 4-3-2. And the Sabres, they're no threat to anyone. So if the Devils get on a roll, I see the Devils going far, and I see them going farther than any of us here expected. We have our young guys. We have Nico Hischier coming back, hopefully. Sammy Vatanen, Jesper Bratt. Teams are playing. They're playing good team hockey before we went into quarantine. 4-3-2 in 9 games. Goal differential is -3. 4-3-2 in our last 10. So I think that this Devils team can go somewhere. If not this year, the next 2 years, I would hope. Having a goaltender like Blackwood, it's really huge for us to have that young guy. And then if you look at going over to the Central Division, I think the two teams are the Lightning and the Hurricanes. You got Lightning at 10-3-1, Hurricanes are 10-3. I mean, you have the Panthers who are 9-2-2, but how long could that last? And you have teams that are struggling, like the Stars, Predators. So I think the Central Division is down to 2 teams, the Lightning and the Hurricanes. Panthers may be for real, but I'm not really sure. If they're 9-2-2, they have a good team, but how long can that last? Especially when you have the Lightning, Stanley Cup champions. They finished the season in October. They didn't get started to January. That's not really. I mean, that's kind of the same in between time of the off season. But other than that, I think the Hurricanes are going to be the one team to beat. So if that's the way the playoff picture would work, I'm gonna do a quick bracket. I think the Hurricanes will come out of the Central because it's gonna be the Lightning versus the Blackhawks, Panthers versus Hurricanes. So Hurricanes are going to beat the Panthers. Then they're gonna have to play the Lightning. I think they could beat the Lightning. So you're gonna have the Hurricanes come out. Then you have the Bruins playing the Capitals, Flyers versus the Islanders. I think the Flyers will win that one. I think the Bruins will win that one. So you'll have the Bruins versus the Flyers. I think the Bruins will win that one. And they're going to play the Hurricanes. So Bruins, Hurricanes, conference final. Hurricanes are going to go to the Stanley Cup final versus, you'll have the Golden Knights take on the Avs. You'll have the Blues take on the Coyotes. Blues are going to defeat the Golden Knights. Maple Leafs take on the Jets. Oilers take on the Habs. Oilers are going to win that one. Maple Leafs are going to win that one. So Maple Leafs versus Oilers. Maple Leafs are going to win. So my Stanley Cup final prediction will be the Maple Leafs versus the Carolina Hurricanes. Again, I'm not really sure how it's going to work with the COVID, the restrictions, the protocols. But I think that's going to be my Stanley Cup final prediction. The Hurricanes versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm going to write this down, and whoever watches this, I mean, I could always keep it up there. You guys should screenshot it. So that's going to be my Stanley Cup final. We have our Serato Broadcasting Stanley Cup final prediction. Hurricanes versus Maple Leafs. And I think the Maple Leafs will end up winning that in 7. So I think they're due for a Stanley Cup. They really do. So we're going to be back with our final thought segment, and my question of the day is this: where do you see the Mets going this year? So this is my question of the day, and we will be back for it right after this commercial break for our final thoughts segment. Is where do you see the Mets going this year? Feel free send in your questions, and We'll be right back right after this commercial break. Again, thank you for supporting the Doug Serravo Show. We truly appreciate you and we respect you all. Thank you and God bless you all.
Where the Monroe Falcons are playing the St. Joseph of McCutcheon Falcons.
Past that game's history, we have a state's championship on our mind now.
The Ranch, the Buffalo.
It all works together very nicely.
Welcome to Falcons Insider.
Falcons Insider.
On today's episode, we're doing a lot of great work. You know, this is work that people said couldn't have been done before. A lot of money doing something you love.
Re-elected team reporter.
Yeah, what a season that was for you. 54 points in 18 games.
But definitely, I mean, when I said that we're going to win GMCs, I think that's another one that I remember. Yeah.
Go down in history. You just said it with so much confidence. We are back on the Doug Serravo Show, and now it's time for our final thought segment. So the question of the day is, where do you see the Mets going this year? And I think this is a Mets team that can compete for a world championship. I truly believe that. And looking at their roster, this is a Mets team that, if stay healthy, they can compete. And looking at their rotation, you got Jacob deGrom, Marcus Stroman, Carlos Carrasco, David Peterson, Joey Lucchesi, Jordan Amado. But most importantly, you're going to have Noah Syndergaard come back, whether it's May or June. And we actually have a question here from Dougie Keith. Dougie, thank you for watching the show. Can Noah stay healthy? And I think he could stay healthy as long as his rehab is going well, and as long as there's not a lot of pressure on him, there's not a lot of innings pitched. You see these guys that throw the ball hard, they throw 90 miles per hour, they throw 100 miles per hour, but they have those pitching games where they have their pitchers up into the hundreds or the 90s within the sixth inning. I think if guys want to stay healthy, you can't let them do that. They have to have 70 pitchers through, 7 innings. So for me, if Noah stays healthy, that will be a key moving forward, because I think you're going to have a rotation of deGrom. I think you're going to have, after deGrom, when healthy, Syndergaard. But the rotation going into opening day will be deGrom, Stroman, Carrasco, Peterson, and it's going to be between Lucchesi and Yamamoto. But I think when Noah comes back, whether it's June, late May, early June, late June, that rotation is going to be nice. It's going to be reminding you of 2015 and why they went to the World Series. deGrom, Stroman, Syndergaard. No, let's do deGrom, Syndergaard, Stroman, Carrasco, Peterson. That's a great rotation. Now their bullpen is still inconsistent. I don't like Diaz as a closer. I think Lugo will be the better option. Right now, their bullpen is this: Edwin Diaz, Seth Lugo, Trevor May, Yoris Familia, Miguel Castro, Dylan Betances, Robert Gazelman, Aaron Luke, Drew Smith, Jacob Barnes, and Stephen Tarpley. I would prefer Lugo as the closer. Catching. Thomas Nido is a great backup, but James McCann is an even better starter. I'm really liking the progress he has had the last few years, and I think having a young catcher behind the plate like James will help the Mets rotation, but will also help their offense. Ramos was good, but he was a little inconsistent. Mostly hit home runs, doubles off the gap. First base. I love the depth of Jose Martinez. I think that was a great move. Because if you don't want Pete in the lineup, have a day off, but you need that right-handed bat, Jose Martinez. Because Dominic Smith he's a lefty and he's good against left-handed pitchers. So I'm liking the Mets first baseman. Second base, Jeff McNeil, Luis Guillamore, and Jonathan VR was another great young move, another great depth. Yeah, he's not really that young, but he's 20. He just turned 30. He turns 30 in May. He's still 29. So that was a good move, also, Jonathan VR. A great depth, better than Robinson Cano, late 30s. All these issues with steroids, so that's a great move. Third baseman, you got J.D. Davis. Again, we don't know what's going to happen with Chris Bryant. Do they trade for him? And what do they give up? Shortstop, Francisco Lindor. One of the best probably the best shortstop in the game. Got rid of Yandres Jimenez, my favorite player, Ahmed Rosario, so I was a little disappointed about that. But I'm really excited to have Francisco Lindor. Because, again, Mets are my second favorite team. Grew up watching them. Watched them in memory of my grandfather. So, and then left field you have Brandon Nimmo and Dominic Smith. Center field, Almora Jr., Brandon Nimmo. I think they did go out and they signed Kevin Pillar. Right field you have Michael Conforto. Jose Martinez plays a little right. So, I like that. I like their rotation when healthy. I like the depth they had. So I do believe the Mets are going to go far this year. I just don't see them winning the division because of the Braves. I think that's going to be tough. I think the Braves are going to have, adding Charlie Morton to their rotation helps. Nationals are going to probably fall off a little bit. Phillies aren't there yet. So, that's just my thoughts on it. Again, thank you for watching me on the Doug Serravo Show. Tonight's show was a little bit different because we didn't have Andrew Brem or Brandon Schwartz. We're gonna have more guests in the future. I think we're gonna have Johnny on the show in the future too. We're gonna just discuss life, everything that goes on, sports, whatever it may be. So we're gonna have a new guest in the future. His name is Johnny, great guy. He loves quesadillas. I was at a bar last night and I kept telling the chef, yo, make my boy a quesadilla, please. He didn't make it, but, So we're going to have him on the show one day in the future. But again, thank you for watching me as always. This is Doug Serravo, host of the Doug Serravo Show, Falcons Insider, Faith, Life, and Death. Signing off.